Guys, check it out, new t-shirt. It's a Mathematics Neo Ouija t-shirt. Pretty awesome. You can get one on Mathematics Bandcamp if you want. Anyway, hello everybody, welcome to the Wonky Angle, where I talk about electronic music, both new and old. And today I'm talking about the new album from Ulrich Schnauss. No further ahead than today. Ulrich Schnauss. This guy is a name most electronic music freaks, such as myself, know, but he's in this weird spot that he occupies basically all by himself. He's always been this mix of electronic and ambient or IDM with instrumental light rock or post-rock or shoegaze, somewhere in that region. His music is very breezy and light, ethereal, warm, happy, chill-out kind of stuff. Now, I think most people will point you towards his second album, A Strangely Isolated Place, as his masterwork. And while that album is great, the album that made a much stronger connection with me was his debut album, Faraway Trains Passing By. I don't think his music is the kind that generally holds a lot of material to talk about in a review, though. He's actually a lot like Tycho in that regard. Actually, that is a really close comparison now that I think about it. Tycho were probably heavily influenced by Ulrich Schnauss themselves, but Tycho has yet to release an album as awesome as Faraway Trains or Strangely Isolated Place, so that's their problem. The thing about Schnauss, though, is that I've kind of been sleeping on the guy for years. Both literally and figuratively. I've had his previous 4 albums sitting on my iPod waiting to be rediscovered, despite the fact that I first heard Faraway Trains over 3 years ago and still put it on every now and then, and I never got past the second album. But now Schnauss surprised us all, or maybe just me because I'm out of the loop, with the arrival of a 5th album to add to his catalog, finally motivating me to sit down with his discography after so many years of just kind of forgetting he existed for some inexplicable reason. I returned to his Strangely Isolated Place, and here are my thoughts on his discography so far. Beautiful album, 12 serene tracks with great melodies and a nice progression each. All-time favorite album for sure. For whatever reason, I was never able to get into this one quite as much as his debut, but coming back to it, it was a lot better than I remembered. I do like the greater focus on atmosphere, pretty awesome album overall. This one is basically exactly the same as A Strangely Isolated Place. It's not bad, but it's pretty disappointing. Okay, I was actually getting some different vibes from this one though, like it's definitely more electronic than usual. Pretty good, I'd say. And that brings us here. I'd say I didn't really know what to expect out of this new album, but I kinda did know exactly what to expect. It was gonna be light, breezy, atmospheric, there could be some electronic or rock elements, but I had a good feeling as to what the actual contents of the album would be. So I plopped this album on. Were there any surprises? Well, aside from the fact that the rest of Ulrich's solo catalog appears to have inexplicably disappeared from iTunes and Spotify, which doesn't really have much to do with anything, but still, what the heck. But yes, I did more or less get what I expected out of this album. Ulrich's style hasn't changed, all the usual hallmarks are there. Bright and emotional melodies, immersive atmospherics, and not a ton of variety from track to track, just the kind of thing you put on and let it take you on a feels trip without really having to care much about the contents of each individual track. The one thing that is notable about this album, though, is that it does seem to be notably louder and more intense than usual, giving this album a sense of epicness that I never really saw in his previous albums, really seeming to focus more on his post-rock influences. Or maybe post-rock was influenced by him. But I don't know. And yeah, as much as I hate to say it, that does have to bring up the Tycho comparison again, as they also had a new album that was a bit more intense than usual. But I prefer this one. First of all, because I have more respect for Schnauss as an artist, just in general. And second of all, I think the turn towards the intense was a bit more drastic on here than it was on Tycho's latest. This album seems to be just bursting at the seams with its giant mix of sounds. Guitars, synths, banging drums, swelling crescendos, what have you. Most Ulrich Schnauss songs do kind of start out quiet and then build on themselves, just kind of waving around. But on this album, they grow to proportions that I've not really seen them grow before. Some highlights on this album include The Magic in You, which moves at high speed and has actual lyrics. Well, lyrics that are a little underplayed, as you might guess, but still enhance the song for me. The more abstract and IDM-esque Thoughtless Motion, the title track, which combines elements of both of the former tracks. Negative Sunrise, which has this odd, ethereal, exotic feel to it. And the epic closer, Illusory Sun, with its awesome drum rolls and timpanis. Other than that, I don't have much else to say, though. There wasn't exactly a lot of variety to be found on this album, but this fact didn't really bother me as much as you might think it would. Ulrich Schnauss may not have exactly changed the game with this new release. It's not exactly a far cry from his usual material, aside from it being higher volume, but if you liked his previous albums, you'll probably like this one too. While I tend to prefer Schnauss's background music, unlike Tycho, actually listening to Ulrich Schnauss in depth actually does kind of uncover things I might not have noticed otherwise. His music, I think, is more layered than Tycho's is. But no further ahead than today may not be an album that offers a ton to discuss, but it is definitely one that I recommend. If you're looking for an electronic album that's more about getting you in the feels, but at least offers the option for in-depth listening, you'd be wise to check out Ulrich Schnauss at some point. And while this new one isn't as good as his first two, if only because there's not exactly a lot of new ideas, I think this is probably the closest he's come quality-wise to those first two. Yeah, definitely recommended. I'm overall feeling a 7.7 out of 10. But of course, this is just my opinion. You can feel free to disagree with it, but I'd like to hear your thoughts, so leave the comments in the comment thing down there. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all for today. See you next time.